Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Stitching Tales. I am Johanna Lundström, the author of several sewing books, including Sewing Jeans, Fit for Knits, and Sewing Activewear, and I also have my own sewing pattern line under the name The Last Stitch.
And my name is Malena and Hjerpe, and I work as a freelance pattern maker, and I also create my own PDF pattern under the name Hazelhen Patterns.
And in today's episode, we are taking questions from you, dear listeners and watchers. So we got really great questions for this episode. Probably there's so many that we probably won't have time to answer each of these, but we will definitely do more episodes like this because we love getting questions, and it also challenges us to think a little bit outside the box as well, because sometimes I find these questions a little bit challenging myself and I have to really think about it. So yeah, you really do ask great questions. I should also say before we start, because sometimes you and I, Malena, we talk a lot about sewing, but we don't actually do a lot of sewing outside our own business, right? I think, Malena, when was the last time you made something for yourself and that wasn't like a sample or a photo garment?
It might have been the second year that I studied fashion, so about 20 years, maybe. I mean, that was I made a dress for a wedding. I mean, not a wedding dress. I was attending to a wedding. So I made a dress for that wedding. I mean, I might have sewn something after that. But no, it has been samples for personal use, sure, but still samples from my own patterns, basically. Yeah. 20 years ish.
20 years. It's cause for celebration. It's been 20 years.
Yeah, so. That anniversary.
Yeah.
I have probably sewn something that I don't remember, but that was one of those
course.
Specific a more bigger project that I made, and I'm really happy about that dress. I still got it somewhere, so that one got stuck in my memory. But what have you been sewing?
Yeah, I should also, before answer that question, we should also mention that you did sew something recently, famous from the pod and our Instagram account, Stitching Tales Pod. I think they are behind you right now, those curtains.
All right. Oh, yes, my curtains. Yes, definitely. Yes. Yeah. They are done. They are up. They are, yeah.
So if you want to watch Malena's curtains, I highly recommend that you go to our Stitching Tale Pod Instagram account. You can see those. So you have definitely been sewing lately, but garments maybe not so much.
I mean my memory. Yeah, obviously.
That's why we're helping each other. Yeah. Well, Kipo, you were asking me something. Yeah.
Yes. What did you sew?
Yeah, I've actually been sewing a little bit again. I do sew for my personal use as well, but just like you, Malena, that kind of goes way down on the priority list, and I also don't really like to shop new garments. So, and sometimes I buy some secondhand stuff, but eventually, the wardrobe is wearing thin because I'm not able to keep up the sewing stuff. Because before I really went hard on the sewing business, I was a very frequent sewist. I mean, I would say that at times maybe 60-70% of my wardrobe, not underwear but all else, were handmade by me. Not so much anymore. I'm kind of wearing down. Right now I'm of course wearing a sample from the girly knit top if you're watching the video version, but that's a long story to say that I did sew a new pair of pants that I will show you if you're curious. So I have, because I bought a lot of denim fabric, mostly because I was filming my course and I had some left that wasn't quite suitable for the denim course, including a very stretchy dark denim fabric, and really stretchy denim fabric I'm not that fan of. I bought it online, which is always, it's a give and take. You really don't know. So it ended up being very stretchy, which is not the kind of denim that I like to work with and like to wear, because it kind of changes the hand of the fabric. But I realized that the fabric is really, really nice. So I thought, why not make a pair of we talk a lot about cigarette pants, those are fitted pants. So I saw a really nice pattern in an old Bird Style magazine for like a kick flare pant, which is kind of popular now with cropped length. So I did use the stretched denim, and I'm going to hold them up now. We're definitely going to post photos on our Instagram account as well, but I'm going to hold them up now so you can see. So this is in really dark, nice denim with regular like slanted pockets, a waistband, a curved waistband. And inside I used, we talked about that in an episode, we can recycle. So this is an old men's wear shirt that I use for the pocket lining. So I think it looks really nice and fits. It's a blue and white checkered poplin fabric if you're not watching the video version of this pod. And for a zipper, I didn't do any top stitching, but I did add a jean zipper just for the look. So this is what it looks like. And so I love these. I mean, they're so comfortable. The fit was really good. And it was also nice because Boda Style usually do one pattern in each issue that is made for petite sizes, so shorter persons, which is I am one of those. So I didn't have to do any alterations. Very nice.
Nice.
In the length. So yeah, super happy with it. I'm going to post some pictures, and it's a great like transitional garment, I think, now when we're going into spring, because of the crop style, and it's a bit more lightweight denim. I think it's going to be really well to wear now in April and May before the heat. And then I'm going to sew a pair of linen pants, I think, for the summer. I have some really nice navy linen pants fabrics that I'm really excited about as well. So yeah, it was fun. It was fun. I love sewing. I realized I really like sewing. I kind of forget that.
Yeah, oh yeah, this is a hobby. This was a hobby of mine that I enjoy doing it. You kind of forget about that.
Yeah, and it's such a gratifying feeling when you finish the garment, and it's also nice because I've sewn a couple of pants, and I will also link to a pants sewing tutorial that I have on my blog that I think is very helpful. I used a lot of similar methods because it's once you get. I mean, pants is a little bit tricky to sew, especially with the waistband and the zipper. When you really nail that, it looks like perfect in my eyes. Then that feeling is really, really rewarding, and I'm super happy how they turned out. And it was a really good way of using stretch denim in a way, because we talked about that. How stretch jeans, very tight fitting, is a style that has been like slowly getting less popular and less trendy. But you mentioned there, Malena, that the kind of cigarette pants is a classic pant. So I thought it was all of a sudden stretch denim felt really contemporary because I used that classic like slim fit pant that you are so fond of as well. And then it felt right again, using really stretchy denim.
Yeah, perfect. And this is a good thing when you're a little bit, or me maybe, stuck on the this is how it's supposed to be, this is a fabric, this is the type of garment, the traditional combinations basically. But I mean, who says you have to follow that? Nobody. I mean, that is just your own mental blocks. No, of course you can use the denim stretch for that kind of a pant. Why not?
Yeah.
So that's a perfect use for that fabric.
Yeah, you're very right. So if you do have some stretch denim in your stash, maybe you reconsider that, and maybe you can use it for some other type of close-fitting pants. Yeah, that's my tip.
Yeah, cool.
So I'm happy. Now I'm going to sew a blouse, I think, as well. So I will update you listeners on that. Maybe I'm wearing it the next time I'm doing a podcast. We'll see.
Lovely.
All right then. Should we start with the questions then?
Yeah, let's do so.
Yes.
And maybe we can start with this question because we mentioned this a little bit right now when we talked about it. That is from MK Dueler. I don't know how to pronounce that. What advice do you have for shopping for fabric online? And you shop that fabric from online, did you, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any general? What do you look for when you shop online?
I think if you're not, obviously the good way is ordering samples, but that can be really expensive if you're buying from another country. So to be honest, I usually don't do it. If I buy from Sweden, I usually almost always, if I'm doing some more serious product, I often order a sample piece of fabric first, just to get the feel of it. So that's, if you have that option, it's usually quite inexpensive. It's nice to get that envelope. And I think so many times I've been wrong. I will say that. So the expectations that I had versus the reality of the fabric that I got in the mail has usually been quite different. So for me, it's been a good way to save money to not buy a full length fabric. However, when I'm buying abroad, it's usually so expensive, and sometimes there's very limited runs of fabric, so then I don't do it. And then my pro tip is actually to look at the fabric weight. I think that is probably the one thing where it's easy to make a wrong decision, because it's hard to think. It's so abstract when you say, oh, it's 250 gram per square meter or square yard. Maybe it's used in those countries that have imperial measurements. But so I think educate yourself about what a fabric weight means, because for instance, if the fabric weight is around, say, 200 gram per square yard,
they usually talk. I think that's gram per square meter.
Right, thank you. That's usually not a great if you want to do like a structured garment. That's more like a blouse weight or a very lightweight fabric. And for instance, if you're planning to do like really like classic heavy duty denim, you need to go quite high, at least 400. Because if you under that, like the fabric I showed you here, it's too light, and you won't get that nice rigid stable type of denim. So to me, that is a good clue. Educate yourself and there are good guides online that you can see the equal fabric type. So those are 2 tips.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. I have, your trouser weights. Apparently, I can hear that. I know my jersey, like single jersey weight, and here I can recommend, like if it is 120 GSM. That is a really thin jersey, almost see-through. It might be workable in black colors, but if it's lower than that, it's more like underwear fabric almost, because it's so see-through then basically. 140, 150, 160, that is really good t-shirt fabric. 180, that is a quite thick t-shirt. Works fine if it's a little bit looser silhouette maybe, but it's And then when it comes to over 200 for jersey, then it's more, when it comes to 250, 300, then it's like sweatshirt fabric, like college fabric. So those are like good. Regular t-shirt fabrics are usually between 140 to 180 GSM, I would say. But unfortunately, I don't think so many online shops have these weight on the fabric. If it is newly produced and they are like ordering in, yes, then they can get that information from the supplier. But if it is dead stock fabric, for example, it is really, they have no idea what they are getting, basically. It still can be really high quality, I'm not saying that, but you don't know exactly what you have. You might not even know like what kind of material is it. Is it cotton? Is it a mix? Is it something? You don't really know. It's really tricky for them to know. And so it's a little bit more of a gamble on those dead stock fabric. They could be amazing, but it's a little bit more of a lottery, I would say there.
Yeah, definitely. And also with dead stock fabrics, usually limited run, so maybe you feel a little bit like you're missing out. If you're ordering a piece of sample fabric and then you have to go back, and then of course that fabric is already gone because maybe they just had a limited like 10 yards or 10 meters and stuff like that. So that can also like make it a little bit more difficult to get it right. Some fabric stores do write down recommendations like generic. This is more like jacket fabric or a pants fabric, but I will say that those are not always correct. So I think it's a little bit I can see that if you're a big store and you have so many fabrics, you're not able to go into detail in every situation. So for me, instance, I've seen fabrics that are definitely too lightweight to be described as pants fabric or jacket fabric, for instance, because I'm talking about denim, for instance. You can't use a lightweight denim. That's a shirt fabric, but I've sometimes seen that suggested for jacket and pants because denim, and then they have so many. So unfortunately, I know some stores have very invested owners and perhaps has less stock, and that they can put more effort into doing that, like giving suggestions for what type of garments that will be suitable. But yeah, it is a gamble for sure.
Yeah, and I can say that if it's if it's too good to be true, it's probably is. I bought, I don't remember from which store it was. It was many years ago now. Also, I bought a wool mix. It was like a sweatshirt fabric. Absolutely horrible. It costed like $7 per meter, so it was really also cheap, which is a sign. Maybe that it wasn't good. It was, and I think it was like acrylic wool mix, and just by looking at it, it started peeling. Like you didn't even have to touch it before it started to peel. But I bought it for sample making because I was just looking to like figure out the fit for some projects. So it wasn't like intention to be used, but it was absolutely horrible fabric.
Yeah.
So it was on sale as well and really cheap. So go figure. But yeah, it's a trick. It's tricky to buy it online. Yeah,
it is tricky, and especially as you mentioned, the hand of the fabric, because that to me says so much. When you can feel the hand of the fabric, which means like the softness, the surface, the drape or stability, all these kind of things, they give you such a clear idea on what kind of project that you can use for the fabric, and all that is removed basically from, and again the stretchiness as well, of course. For instance, if there is a percentage of lycra or spandex, there will be stretch, of course, crosswise stretch at least, and so that can give you an idea. But also that can also change the hand of the fabric. So for instance, if you want to do like a draped style, then you don't want a lycra or spandex, because it kind of makes the fabric a little bit more I mean, you can have a little bit, but it's usually not a good idea to have too much, for instance, because it kind of changes the hand of the fabric. So there's a lot of like considerations to, and I think we all do ordering mistakes. I've definitely done these in not too long ago. I mean, honestly, sometimes I get a little bit trigger happy as well. You know, when you're shopping online, and, as you say, you get kind of FOMO. Oh, that fabric! Oh, this looks so nice, and it's on sale or it seems cheap, and and then you kind of
so many nice
it.
things. And it might not be that the fabric is bad; it's just not suitable for your project, so that you need to do another project or something. But I think some fabric shops do amazing job. I mean, Blackbird Fabrics and Lyrical Fabrics that I mentioned before, the way they are working with also posting actual garments of what have been sewn in the fabric. I mean, then you get a completely different feel of what kind of fabric it is, what it is suitable for. It's just, I love the way they are working with showcasing their fabrics.
Yeah, that's very, very good. And hats off, because we know how time consuming and difficult it is to run a business, and taking the time to really give that information to the customer and ensure that that you have a proper idea. It's very, very valuable. And just for reference, when I were planning to do the photo samples for my Vide knit pants, then I ordered sample fabrics, because it's designed for heavier knit fabrics like Ponte di Roma, felted wool, that kind of more heavy fabric. And I think I ordered maybe 7 or 8 different fabric samples from different stores, and about half of those weren't suitable. So I'm very happy that I didn't just press on that full length button, and because I took my time and the samples, I picked the right fabric, the samples turned out like top notch. So good luck with your shopping. We can just wish you fingers crossed that it will be suitable for your projects. Yeah, definitely. All right, then we have from Spaceship Kittens, speaking about sewing here, are there any steps or details that you prefer to hand sew? Do you have any of those, Malena?
Ooh, good question. I feel yes. I can't, like, what are those steps? Mostly when I'm too lazy to actually take out my sewing machine, or when I need to mend something and I'm at home and I don't have my sewing machine here, then I usually just quickly do it by hand. But there are definitely, I can't top of mind, I can't. I have it it's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't remember like where. But one thing I can recommend is like if you, how do you say, temporarily stay stitch when you are sewing things together that you don't want to use like pins for. It is too heavy or something. I saw. Didn't you do it on your waistband on the inside?
Yeah, like basting. Yeah, basting.
Yeah, basting. Yeah.
Yeah, I do that a lot. Yeah, all the time. Love it.
Yeah. And then with like small things like when I do waistband for my joggers, the Fieldfare joggers, you can sew on waistband in different ways. I usually sew it on so I have a little hole basically on the inside of the waistband where I put in the elastic in it, and then I say in my instructions that I enclose it by hand, but I actually never do that. I just leave it open. So if needed, I can actually like adjust the waistband to make it longer or shorter if anything happens. So, but those kind of small things, like I don't bother to do it on the sewing machine. I just do it by hand. But yeah, not because I don't sew. I don't use it hand stitching so often. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I do love basting, and I do that a lot, and I will always say that you will never regret basting. It's such a great way of certain steps. For instance, when I'm sewing the waistband, you need to stitch the waistband. You either top stitches or you stitch in the ditch, meaning that you stitch a seam inside the seam ridge on the outside to attach the inner waistband. And that is really, really difficult to do evenly because the inner waistband will slip and it might not catch the stitching, and you can of course use pin, but if you baste that waistband, you're almost guaranteed success. I have not discovered any other method, and I'm pretty proficient sewist. I still always rely on basting, because if I do that, I hardly ever have to re-sew the waistband. But if I try to use my hands or pins, also it's a little bit difficult to pin because you have such thick layers. For instance, if you're sewing a jeans waistband, you have really thick fabric with like 6 layers of fabric, and it's going to be tricky. So that's my favorite way of hand sewing. I should also say that you mentioned that opening in the inner waistband. If you're curious to see that as well, I have on my blog tutorial for the Vide pants. I show that as well, and it's called slip stitching, I think, in English, where you call it smygsting in Swedish, I think, when it's like secret stitching, so it's kind of invisible. So you don't really see it, and it's such a great way of finishing stuff by hand. So that I do, and I'm going to hold up my. Sorry.
Where do you do that, on the hem or? No.
When you're closing the inside of the elastic waistband using the method that you like to use, then I use the slip stitching, as you talked about, that you usually don't do, but you say that you can do. I think that the English term for it's slip stitching and smygsting in Sweden.
I just wing it. I just do whatever looks fine.
Yeah,
no professional word for it.
Lingo here. You're not claiming to do the professional slip stitching. Maybe I am not either, but if you check any older sewing book, you will find that method. Slip stitching.
If you want to Google and see how you do it properly, you can do that.
Yeah. You can also check out my probably poorly demonstrated version of it on my sew along for the Vide pants. But what I do love is that when I'm sewing waistbands, like I'm holding up now my new pants, as if you're watching the video version, you can see I've not top stitched this waistband. It's instead the inner waistband is attached by, I'm stitching in the ditch which is the seam ridge of the lower part of the waistband. So what I do is that to get really sharp 90-degree corners of the ends of the waistband, I'm holding that up now. As you can see, it looks pretty darn straight. I will say, if I have to say so myself, and I'm the one talking. As you can see here, this is not, I have not sewn the waistband on the inside with a straight seam. Instead, I just, and turn it, instead I just fold in the edges, and I will link to a tutorial showing this. I fold in the edges and I press it, and then I slip stitch the ends here. So you can see it, because I'm not very good at slip stitching. If you look really close, I don't know if it looks great, but it looks pretty neat, I think. So that's a way where I actually save. It looks really really, I think it looked really, really nice. You can watch the video version if you agree with me, and I will also post some pictures of it. Maybe some will say, not that nice, but I think it looks neat.
Yeah.
So, and this is hand stitching. Hand stitching, secret hand stitching, aligning the inner and the outer waistband edges here. So no sewing machine has touched the ends of the waistband, only the lower part of it.
If you sew with a regular sewing machine there, does it, why is the hand sewing better?
Yeah, because you press in the ends, you will get a really sharp corner. But because you probably all know that if you tried, sewn like a 90-degree seam, it's usually quite difficult because there will be like a slightly rounded corner. You can of course use a point turner and you can clip the seam allowance. But for instance, shirt collars is another example. I mean, it is kind of tricky to get those really sharp pointed corners. It's the same. We run into the same issue with the waistband. That when you fold it over and have that stitch, there will be slight roundness. And but instead of folding it in, I do the same with jeans waistband. I fold it in and then I just top stitch it over. So again, I don't close the side seam. I will post pictures on our Instagram account because I do understand the challenge of explaining this in audio version. But so yeah, for corners, sometimes slip stitching is a great idea as well.
Good tip.
What else? Yeah, another thing also that I don't like to do on the sewing machine is a rolled hem. Rolled hem, because it's a serger rolled hem I do like, but using those rolled hem presser foot is a challenge that I have not yet mastered despite very many attempts. So I actually, if I'm doing like a rolled hem on a blouse or something like that, then I usually do it by hand actually.
All right. Hemming by hand, that is that is a little bit more towards the tailoring side, the fancy tailoring side.
That is definitely one of those, and that takes time. I can assure you, you're going to watch through a lot of movies before, or reality TV, a whole season of a TV show before you're done. Especially if you're roll hemming in a skirt. So it's not something that I did.
This can be the same thing as when somebody gives you a compliment on the dress. It's like, yes, I made it. It has pockets. And look, I hemmed it by hand. Like that's the next step.
Definitely. But I usually don't do blind hem by hand unless the fabric is really delicate. Then I use my sewing machine. But I'm pretty good at doing the blind hem with the hand as well. I don't really mind hand sewing because it's nice to not have to sit in front of your sewing machine to actually being able to watch TV, for instance. So that's one of the things I really like about hand sewing.
Yeah, well, that's good. Hope you listeners also do some hand stitching. And leave us a comment if you do. It would be interesting to hear what you are doing.
All right, I think we have time for one more questions. So from Craft and Purse, have you considered adding men's sizes to your upcoming t-shirt book? Love the pod. Thank you very much. Yeah. So we should maybe new listeners are wondering what book. Well, Malena and I we're working on another book. We wrote one that came out 1.5 years ago called Fit for Knits, and now we're working on our first ever sewing pattern book. Working title is To a T, and it's gonna have the classic styles of t-shirt, including a traditional straight t-shirt or a more straight t-shirt, oversized t-shirt, a raglan shirt, and a close-fitting t-shirt. So that's and it's going to come with sewing instructions and full-size paper patterns. And yes, and it's going to have lots of sizes. But the question here is, are we also adding man's sizes? Are we, Malena?
No, unfortunately, we are only focusing on women's pattern or women's body at the moment. And yeah, I mean, it would be nice to do men's pattern as well, but it's the For me, I'm most used to working with women's wear. I have my own library that I have done over the years with different patterns, and they are all for women's wear. I have the grading there. It's just to go into men's pattern, that would be like a whole new, a whole new field basically, and figuring out the sizes and the grading and the fit there, it would be a massive project. So unfortunately at the moment, no, not menswear's patterns.
Yeah, as I said, it's a whole different thing, and we need to like focus on the stuff where we feel are our strong suit, and we totally see and understand the need for more menswear sewing pattern. That is definitely an area that is a bit underserved, but unfortunately that is also because that's the crass commercial side of it. Right now, as of 2025, it's still primarily a female-dominated hobby in terms of that the largest amount of people sewing garments are femme-identifying persons, which means that there's a much bigger market. So if we would do a book for femme-identifying persons, then it will sell a lot more than if we would do a book for men's wear, which is, and it's the same amount of work. So that's the crass commercial reality of it, because it's as I also do. I also run my own publishing house, which means that I have to front all the money and stuff like that. So I have to ensure that we have the biggest to sell, and also if we could also add men's pattern if we had the knowledge to do it. But again, that would mean that the book would be much more expensive because we had to add more paper patterns, and it will add more printing cost and more pages because we had to show all the men's style as well. So that's also very like, how should I say, it's a heavy reason for not being able to do it. And it saddens me to say this, that even if we had the knowledge, we might not even be able to do it as well. And so I think it's good to talk about these things, because it might seem so, why don't you just add that as well? But we have very specific and very pressing reasons, both when it comes to where our knowledge skills are and also strictly commercial, because we run a business, and we have to ensure that what we do has the biggest opportunity to sell enough products. And unfortunately, in this space, that means that it's a book that is geared to primarily female identifying persons. It will sell more books.
Yeah, all the technical things like how to sew it, and all the instructions, that would still be applicable for a men's t-shirt, but the actual pattern, paper pattern, that unfortunately we won't be able to provide.
Yeah, and we are very, it's a sad thing, and hopefully there will be more male identifying people coming into the sewing space. And I know, for instance, when it comes to my sewing jeans product, both my book and my sewing course and in mastery, I have plenty of guys buying that, and so that's much more, so it's not that I see guys sewing all the time and purchasing, but still it's the minority, unfortunately, still.
Yes. Let's do we have time for one more question, maybe?
We have a moment. Yep, for sure.
I thought this question was so much fun. Collection of unseen thoughts. If money is not a problem, what is your next step? Let's assume you win 25k per 10 years. That would be amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. That's like getting like
financial
base salary. Yeah.
Restrictions. That would be nice. What would you do?
I would definitely quit my day job. And I'm saying this because if you listen to the last episode, I'm going back to my day job now in 1.5 weeks, and that is because I need those money. those money. I would definitely quit my day job for sure. And I think if I had that kind of money, which is, I guess, 25k in that's in Swedish money, so that will be about $2,500 or euro. So
let's assume it's dollars.
Yeah, let's assume it's dollars.
Let's assume we are like financially like
independent.
It's the kind of money that like you wouldn't have to work, or you could like freely. What would your next project be like? Money is not an issue. If we go with that mindset,
that's a better mindset, because I think 25k, honestly, that's not enough to live on in Sweden if you live in a larger city, unfortunately. You still need to have some income, unless you're living with someone. I mean, if you're a single person, it's probably pretty much impossible. But yeah, as you say, financially independent, that's a good way of doing it. Yeah, I would definitely never take on a day job again. I would definitely keep on working because I love working. I have so many ideas, I have so many goals, I have so many things I want to do for the last stitch. And I would just... What I would enjoy then is that I wouldn't have to kind of burn myself out regularly, because then I would know that I could do all the things I want to do in a reasonable speed and have more time for friends and family and just for rest and relaxation. So for me, I thought that, to me, that seems like a dream scenario, because I could, if I had periods when I wasn't feeling too good, or maybe I feel like I want to be more social, then I would just know that it doesn't really matter because I still got the money. But now, running a business, that means that I cannot really sit on my laurels. I have to like always produce new stuff, market, all the kind of stuff, and do the admin. I mean, it's so much stuff. And so for me, that would give me peace of mind, I think, most of all. But I would definitely keep on working. I will, when I retire, I can guarantee you I will keep on working, because that's where my head is. Yeah.
Would you do it in a slower pace if you had the money, just in a slower pace, or would you hire more help, like independent contractors, to do the stuff that you don't want to do? Which route would you take?
Probably a combination of both, I think. I would definitely hire out more help, especially with social media, which is my Achilles heel. Surprise, surprise. Well, you wonder why you don't see me often on the social. Yeah, definitely. But I would still like to keep it small, because to me, when you take on too many people, that also means that you have to take on a different kind of role. You have to be a leader, and I see myself as a creative first and foremost. So I don't have big ambitions for the last stitch. I definitely just want to grow it in a comfortable pace and hand out all the things that I don't feel that I am the best at, and still keep a lot of the creative side to myself.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah. And what about you?
It's I would definitely also continue on working because I love my work, but I wouldn't do it full time. I would spend a lot more time in my garden instead, and be a part-time garden worker, only in my own garden, obviously. That's where my passion lays. But I would definitely continue also on working, because I do love what I do. I'm not saying no to freelance work for other companies. I do enjoy that as well. Really, it's so much fun to be in a team and have somebody to work with as well. I wouldn't do it as much as I do it right now. I would definitely scale back, or do periods when I do it, and then have off periods when I only focus on my own Hazelhen Patterns projects. But I would also have a little... I would never hire anyone, because as you say, that also... all of a sudden you are a boss then of somebody else, and you have to manage a team and be a manager, basically, and that I am so not interested in that. But I would definitely take help from contractors, freelancers, with marketing, imagine if you would have brand ambassadors that you could actually pay properly.
Yeah,
so
that would be amazing.
They would use your patterns there. I mean, make content about that you can share in your own social media, and somebody who writes my blog is I don't it's there, it's not nothing is happening over there, unfortunately. What if somebody would actually on a regular basis update the blog and do the website properly, and all those things, like all the things that you don't want to do, you can just delegate to somebody else and pay for it. That would be like pay a fair amount to those people. And I would definitely also like work more locally. I would want to start up some sort of, not a fabric shop, but like some place where people could like, hey, let's meet and sew once a month or something. Have a little bit of a community feel here, that you get to know other local people who likes to sew. And I mean, there are just so many things that you want to do.
This sounds absolutely wonderful. And I mean, you have such a great thinking around this, you know, also figuring out like removing some of the stuff that you don't feel like is your strong suit. And also like being able to, you know, implement visions, because then all of a sudden you have more stability and more free time to do the kind of things that are fun, but maybe doesn't bring in the most money, because that is a struggle when we're working to make a living, and then we often have to not do the kind of stuff that we, you know, maybe feel more passionate about. But I'm curious, what would you do for Hazelhen Patterns? Do you have any specific ideas? Would you increase the rate of patterns that came out, or because you didn't have to take on so many freelance work, or what would you do?
Yeah, I think I would
elevate that brand.
Yeah, no, I think I would do more patterns actually, and I will also have like physical patterns because that's something that really, I would love to have physical patterns I would be able to sell. And just make more patterns, maybe take help from some designers to actually make the design, and I could do the actual patterns, and then maybe I can delegate the sewing instructions to someone else. And I mean, that would be, and then the marketing team would sweep in when I'm done with the pattern, and they would continue on, because once something is launched, I mean, then the real marketing work actually starts. You need to promote your pattern, but then you're kind of over it already. Like you would just want to move on to your next pattern. You don't want to keep on talking about your pattern that is already done. But that unfortunately is something you obviously would have to do. But then this magical marketing team and brand ambassadors would swoop in and do all that kind of work for you.
Yeah, and they will already have like planned this marketing campaign, and they will tell you, okay, this is what we're going to do, and here is the places where we need you. But again, you can step back, and I think that's probably the biggest challenge, is the fact that we have to do all this task switching, and it's kind of mentally impossible for most of us to go from that side when we just sit behind the computer and try to finish the pattern and doing all that kind of stuff, and then we're like kind of mentally feel finished. And then we need to be even more energetic, because we have to put ourselves out there, do all outreach, and, you know, show ourselves, and, you know, keep on telling everyone about what we're doing. And it's really, really difficult. And I think that's why, so having that kind of, that's probably one of the we both love collaboration. And I think that's a very good way of thinking about that, because then you don't have to be a leader in that sense. Because if you team up with like-minded people, for instance, if you, as you say, maybe there are really like cool driven content creators in the sewing space, and you could team up with those, and they could like from top of their creativity tap into their creativity and do something for you. And you just have to sign off it and have like that would be a really nice way, I think, of doing that, so you don't have to like lead that work, and you're basically saying, I'm leaving this to you, I trust your creativity, I trust your vision, let's do something together that way.
That would be amazing. And just to have some, I mean, technical editor, I mean, sure, I can sew the photo samples, but how, like, figuring out all the technicals, like I would love to do more videos, like both on Instagram. I'm never gonna be on YouTube, sorry. Because also like the technical things, like I'm not how to edit cut a video, like, mind blowing. Like, no, technically I'm technically challenged in some areas, so like that is just like I wouldn't even think of doing it because it's gonna take so much time for me to learn how to do that. But if you could delegate those things, maybe that could actually be like, maybe you could be on YouTube then because somebody else is doing all of that stuff and just how to upload it and maintain the No, it would be amazing to have somebody work with all those, so you can just focus on what you actually enjoy doing.
Yeah, which is probably, you know, a smaller part of what it is really running a business as it is for both of us. Yeah, it sounds dreamy. Are we buying a lottery ticket tonight, Malena?
Maybe
are you
we
one of those
should.
people that...
Did we manifest this now? Is this going to happen in the future now?
Because we do have this, like, what is it called, where you scratch, you have to get 3 of the same thing. It's called trisslott in Sweden. I guess every country has one of those.
Yeah, different type of lottery things.
Lottery tickets, yeah. You know, you can also pay, like, you know, say these are the numbers that I believe in or whatever. Are you a gambler, Malena? Do you buy that kind of stuff every week, or?
No, I am. No, I don't. I don't really like. Do you believe in luck or not? Like, I don't really like. It's fortunately for most people, it's just hard work, and you can have timing or you can have not timing. Sure, bad luck there, but I kind of hate when people are like, "Oh, you got so lucky if you succeed in your work or something." Somebody from home, like not a close friend or anything, but like, "Oh, you got so lucky when you got to travel, do all those travels in work." And it's like, no, I didn't get lucky. I worked hard. I applied for the different work positions. I not fought for them, but you know, I worked my ass off to be able to do all these, to get these opportunity. Yes, I'm very fortunate and I'm very appreciative of it, but I didn't get lucky. Like, nobody handed me those opportunities on a silver plate. I didn't win the lottery and could go there for vacations. Like, I did my job to get there. So no, luck, nah, I don't think that has that much to do with it. Like, sure, timing, I got lucky the opportunity and I was there, sure, but I did the work. So no, I didn't get lucky.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's definitely, it's not, unfortunately, lucky is kind of overrated. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky that I'm born in this country and I have these privileges. Yes, I'm
absolutely.
very lucky.
Privilege is definitely a thing, for sure. I mean, but that's not the same thing. I mean, privilege is like, privilege is the fact that you have been, you know, as you say, we live in a country that has a high level of welfare. It's a pretty solid economic state. We have lots of security here in Sweden. We are not ravaged by wars. I mean, those are very privileged positions to be in. But as in terms of like random luck, that is not. There is no rational thing that, you know.
Yeah, wasn't
I have a lot of things about say
the Swedish Stenmark, someone who was like really famous athlete, and he said something like, "Yeah, isn't it funny that the harder I work out, the luckier I get?" It's like, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, it's very, there is a very strong correlation. And the problem with those lottery tickets is that, you know, on the back of those, you can see the how the probability of, because that has to be displayed, at least here in Sweden, the probability of, you know, getting the money, like, it's 1 out of 100,000 lottery tickets, for instance. And when you read those numbers, you're not really feeling compelled to buy a lottery ticket. Yeah, it doesn't cost a lot. I mean, it costs maybe €3 or €4, something like that. But I mean, yeah. So to me, I'm a pretty rational person. And if I see facts, I like to act according to those facts. Not saying that it's bad to buy a lottery ticket, but it's very hard if you have a rational mind to think that you're going to do this every week and have any closeness. Because honestly, I know a lot of people, and unless they're hiding it from me, don't know a single person. And I know a lot of people that has won a solid sum on the lottery. but that's a kind of dream that they are selling us, of course, because they have this tagline in Sweden for one of those major lottery tickets. It's suddenly one day it happens, or something like that in English, like, so just keep the dream alive. Yeah, right.
Yeah, and I mean, I had my mom's friend, she was talking about it sometime, and she was like, yeah, but maybe when I have that lottery, I get to dream a little bit. And it's like, maybe it happened. And I totally understand that. It's like, yeah, and I mean, unless you have a problem, addiction, obviously, about it, like nothing wrong with buying a little dream time. Like it's a mental thing. Like, yeah, I can dream away. What if, and then before you get back to reality.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's definitely, you have to think it more of that way. It's adding some pleasure and some fun and excitement to your life, not really like thinking that this is going to move your situation forward in any type of way. I totally agree with you. I also should say that I do buy lottery tickets for my kids every Christmas. Yeah,
so but that's a really common thing that in our family as well. Like you get some lottery tickets. It's a nice present.
Yeah. So nobody, but and also final thing about luck, because many years ago I read an article about a study regarding luck, because that can be many things. But it basically was a study of people that had they perceived themselves as being very lucky persons, and they felt that their luck was kind of like all over, regardless of getting a new job to winning a lottery. But then they realized that these people that had a lot of luck, those were social people that were good at building networks. They were also very good at expressing their needs. So for instance, if they needed to find a new place to live, like a new apartment or a new job, or to have help with something, they were very good at reaching out to their social circle and expressing their needs. But so that was the reason behind their luck. But the interesting thing that in the study was that these people, they didn't understand this themselves. So they didn't understand that it was personality traits that created luck. So they thought that they actually had a higher chance of winning the lottery because they were so lucky in life.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
No, but the lesson learned. I mean, yeah, if you want something, talk about it. Absolutely. Maybe somebody can help or give you a tip or where to go, how to, like, that is something that I need to work on as well. Like, don't just sit alone with your problems. Like, talk about it. Maybe somebody is in the same situation. I think that's a very common thing about solo entrepreneurs. We don't have that community, we don't have that network. So when we have a problem, we just have to figure out everything ourselves. Everything depends on us. If you don't do it, it won't get done. It's like, no, maybe you need to reach out and like, hey, I have this problem. Does anyone else have the same? And I was like, yeah, I solved it in this way. So like talking about your problems and questions, it's not a bad thing. You will get lucky maybe even.
Yeah. So I think that's a really good way of rounding up this podcast. I think it's a very sound advice that I think can be, as you say, apply to pretty much anything, regardless if it's a business or a personal situation. Don't be afraid to talk about the kind of challenges that you have. And I've seen lots of examples. For instance, I can just give you one example. I have an attic storage in my apartment complex, and it's been chaos because I don't have a car. And you have to recycle everything, and I don't have a way of doing that, so I need a car, blah blah blah. So, and I haven't like borrowed a car because I'm lazy in that way. I don't really like driving. Anyways, so I spoke up about that particular situation with two different friends, and both offered me to do like a combination because they had the same problem. So a couple of weeks ago, me and a friend that has the same problem, we rented a van, and we did a joint attic cleaning and to the recycle facility, and it was so fun because then we chatted and we hadn't seen each other for a while, so we had a really fun like several hour conversation while we were doing this, and it was so nice. And yeah, that was luck in a way, but not really, because I complained about it, and I was also open, because that's kind of embarrassing, because it looks like, yeah, it was bad. It was I couldn't get into. I had to climb over things, so
Pictures?
It was really bad.
Do you want pictures?
Yeah, I do have pictures, and we're gonna show that as well, before and after the cleaning.
Ooh, love those pictures.
Yeah, but that's good, because we definitely, if you haven't checked out our Instagram account, we talked last week about, lifting the metal plate on the sewing machine, and we did come clean on that, Malena. So if you're curious, you should definitely go over to our Instagram account, where we showed the real behind the scenes stuff. Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't bad, but it definitely wasn't good, but it wasn't like catastrophically bad, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt it was a little bit, mine was a little bit embarrassing, but I have to own it.
Yeah.
There was some lint.
Kind of normal.
Yeah, there was some lint. Yeah, kind of normal. But we're all humans, right? That's how we roll. Anyways, thank you so much for listening, and we didn't have time to answer all the questions, so we're definitely going to do a follow-up. So if you didn't get your question answered, no worries. We will keep doing these Q&A episodes in the future. So thank you so much for listening. I am Johanna Lundström.
And I am Malena Hjerpe. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.